A white martial arts coach called a quiet black mother into the ring, just to humiliate her in front of parents, students, and her own daughter. He smirked, taunted, and promised to go easy. What he didn't know? She once held 3 world titles under a different name. And when she stepped onto that mat, in sweatpants and silence, she didn't just dodge his attacks. She destroyed his ego, shattered his arrogance, and silenced an entire dojo. Because real strength doesn't shout. It shows up when no one sees it coming. Danielle Carter didn't look like someone who could shake a room. She wore no makeup. Her faded shirt hung loose. Her old sweatpants whispered of long days and forgotten nights. And every week, she quietly waited at the back of the dojo to pick up her daughter, Imani, offering the kind of calm presence that's easy to ignore. But that night, something changed. She saw it again. The white coach, Ethan Wallace, yelling at young Andre for the same mistake a white student had just made moments earlier. Ethan's voice cut like a whip. "Wrong move again. Want to stay here all night?" Danielle's eyes flicked to Andre's mother. Tasha sat still, face heavy with silent pain, and beside her, Imani was trying so hard to be perfect. But no matter how fast her kicks, Ethan's eyes always narrowed when they landed on her. Danielle clenched her jaw. Still, she said nothing. The next day, Danielle came early. She stood in the shadows, watching. It wasn't discipline. It was control. Ethan barked at kids of color, but whispered encouragement to others. He smiled at white parents. He scoffed at quiet kids. And every time he passed by Imani, his voice dripped with disdain. Danielle said nothing, but inside, something ancient stirred, something she had buried long ago. Then came Saturday. The dojo was packed. Ethan, with all the showmanship of a performer, stepped into the center of the mat and announced a special demonstration. And then he pointed at her. "Miss Carter," he said with a theatrical grin, "how about showing us what you've got? A little sparring? Just for fun." Laughter echoed. A few parents chuckled. Some students gasped. But Danielle's eyes didn't flinch. Her daughter's hand tightened around hers. "Mom, don't, please." But Danielle stepped forward, calm, measured. Ethan mocked her attire. "No gi? No belt? Guess this'll be quick." Danielle spoke, low, even. "If I lose, I'll admit I know nothing. But if I win, you'll apologize to every child you ever humiliated, especially the ones who look like me." Gasps swept the room. Ethan burst into arrogant laughter. "You serious? You think you can take me?" Danielle didn't blink. She just said, "Tomorrow, same time." That night, Danielle opened a drawer she hadn't touched in years. Beneath a faded cloth sat a black and silver MMA championship belt, worn with age, still shining with quiet glory. And beside it, an old photo, a younger version of herself, hand raised in victory, belt above her head. The caption read, "Rebecca the Phantom Gale Storm, 3-time world champion." But the roar of crowds was gone now. Her brother, the one who never made it to her final fight, was gone too. She had buried the name, the fame, the past, until now. Because what Ethan had mocked wasn't her. It was every child in that room who had to work twice as hard to be seen as equal, including Imani. She stood in the dark living room, belt in her hands, eyes wet but fierce. Tomorrow she wouldn't show up as a mother. She'd show up as a storm. The next afternoon, the dojo buzzed like a beehive. Parents lined the walls. Students formed a circle around the mat. Ethan Wallace stood at the center, smirking, his white gi spotless, ego ready to perform. Across from him, Danielle Carter stepped forward. No uniform, no gloves, just old sweats, bare feet, and unshakable calm. Ethan bowed theatrically. "You ready to be embarrassed in front of your kid?" Danielle didn't answer. She simply nodded once. The match began. Ethan charged. Flashy kicks, aggressive punches, cocky spins. Danielle barely moved. She stepped left, slipped right, tilted her head just enough. Every attack missed by inches. The crowd murmured. Imani stared, wide-eyed. Then came the turning point. Ethan launched into his signature spinning kick, the one no student had ever dodged. Danielle moved. Once, Ethan flew past her, lost balance, and slammed to the mat face first. The room fell silent. Danielle didn't gloat. She stepped forward, voice steady. Martial arts isn't about domination. It's about discipline and respect. The silence broke. Applause erupted like thunder. Imani ran to her mother, eyes shining. "You're amazing," she whispered. Ethan sat stunned, no smirk left. And then, with every eye on him, he stood, faced the students and spoke. "I was wrong. To all of you, especially those I judged, I apologize." Gasps rippled through the room. But Danielle just nodded. She didn't need to speak. The mat had already said everything. She didn't come to win a fight. She came to reclaim her dignity, and every child's. If this story shook you, don't stay silent. Hit like, drop a comment, and share it loud. Subscribe now, so stories like this keep punching through the noise.